This is BBC Television.
Hi, my name is Buck Jones, originally from South Carolina, and if you can figure out where I live now, you get an extra point. So let me give you some clues. I guess we're not in Aiken anymore, are we? I am a South Carolina Honors College graduate. When I lived in on the Horseshoe, I lived on in a dorm, the SCHC, and I never would have dreamt that years later I'd be living here in Paris. I guess that French in high school and in college came in handy. So you're probably wondering, how did a boy from South Carolina end up in a place like this? That's a good question, and it's a long story. Let's see if I can condense it into an Instagram quick story for you. Speaking of stories, when in Paris, you absolutely have to stop at the bouquiniste that sell the books along the Seine. See what I did there? Story, books. So whenever someone asks me, how did you get from South Carolina to Paris? First response is it involved a lot of research, and it wasn't done overnight. Primarily it was done with the help of my husband, who it was both of our dreams to come live here in France together. And when we were first starting out living in America, in Los Angeles, we decided that this is something that we wanted to do. So what we worked on together was finding a business to buy, because that's the easiest way to emigrate and establish residency in Europe. And we ended up buying a cafe, and from there we started establishing our roots. And now it's been 15 years running the cafe. You'll see it in a little bit. For me, the voyage started while in South Carolina in honors college. I took a summer semester, and studied French here in France, and fell in love with the country and the culture. And then following my 4 years as an undergrad, I ended up getting my master's in international business there at the Darla School, and got my international business degree with the French language track. I worked here in Paris as an intern, and again, it just reconfirmed my love for the country and for living in Europe. So how does one define success and choose a path that takes them to their ultimate goal? Looking back at where I was when I was your age as an undergrad, the paths before me seemed too overwhelming, and I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go. Did I always know I wanted to live in France? No, I didn't. Did I think that I would be running a cafe or owning a cafe and becoming a writer when I was your age? Absolutely not. My goals when I was your age were completely different, and it's a bit overwhelming, I know, when you're your age. My best piece of advice to give you would be to remain flexible in what you're wanting to do, because it's a bit insane to expect a 20-year-old to find the path they're going to take for the rest of their lives. The great thing about the Honors College is it offers so many great courses to be able to push yourself, discover new things. And quite frankly, if I hadn't taken some of the courses and met some of the people that I met when I was in the Honors College, my life would have been a different path. So what did I want to do when I was your age? I thought I was going to be an architect, to be honest. I was always fascinated by architecture, by the beauty of the city, by urban planning, and that was kind of what I had wanted to do since I was a kid. But I fell in love with literature, fell in love with travel, fell in love with other civilizations, and wasn't sure that architecture was going to be ultimately fulfilling for me. So stay flexible. Your whole life is in front of you, and it's okay to make changes. It's okay to change your mind. It's much easier to do it now when you're at your age than it is when you're in your mid-30s like I was and decided that I didn't want to work in corporate America anymore and I wanted to live in Europe. So for me, it's all about making changes, being flexible. How do I define success? Success for me is inward driven. I've never been one to look at success from external measures. I didn't want to be the type of person that compared myself to others based on how much money I make or my status based on a job title or even which company I worked for. All of that was external, and for me, success is something that is inward driven. There's always something to discover in Paris, especially on a beautiful spring day like it is today. We're in the Palais Royal right now, and it's one of my favorite spots in all the city. As you can see, it's pretty magnificent. So however you define success, it's up to each one of us. For me, as a writer, I don't compare myself to other writers per se. I just want to write the best story, the best way that I can, and hopefully others find pleasure out of it, that they enjoy it, that they take something away from it, and they learn, and they pass it on to somebody else. And maybe for you, it's to be the best fill in the blank, to be the best graphic designer, to be the best accountant, to be the best mother or father or friend. Each day find something and make it your own. That last little bit sounded a bit overly Oprah / self-help book. Sorry about that, but I kind of believe it. You do have to define your own success. You do need to figure out what it is that's going to bring you joy in life. You don't want to be stuck on that hamster wheel and 20, 30, 40 years down the road wonder, what in the world was I thinking? Why did I do this? So, a bit of advice, think about it while you're in undergrad. Take as much time as you need. Enjoy the classes you're taking. Get something out of it each time. So what were some of my favorite classes as an undergrad within the Honors College? Probably my favorite class was, well, there were so many. One of them was classical rhetoric, taught by Professor Carolyn Madeline, whom I am still in touch with to this day on Facebook. An amazing class, teaching you how to think, teaching you how to write logically, and it was by far my favorite course. Another one that I enjoyed immensely was a course called Southern Politics. That one was taught by Professor Earl Black, who was, along with his twin brother, Merle, so there's Earl and Merle, were the experts on all things political in the South. And that class was amazing, and it actually stuck with me to the point where I ended up using a lot of what I had learned in writing my first novel, which is called The Last Good Republican. I probably should have been wearing my cap while we were talking in the sun so my bald head wouldn't get sunburned. You might recognize the cap. I actually got it at the College World Series a number of years ago when I went to go watch the Cox play in Omaha. So, go Cox. We're gonna go grab a drink. It's that time of day right now at one of my favorite cafes here in Paris, Cafe Etienne Marcel. And you'll get a chance to meet my husband and we'll talk a bit about my book.
So, thank you for joining us. We're discussing with Buck Jones his new book. So, tell us about your book.
I'm glad you asked. So this is my husband, Martin.
That's me.
And this is the book, The Last Good Republican. And the story is set in the 1960s in South Carolina. And it's the story of a young idealist who has to choose between his promising political career or pursuing the love of his life. And I mentioned that it takes place in South Carolina on the Horseshoe, so it might be of interest to you if you want to check it out.
And I think that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers. So, a quick wardrobe change, and I'm going to take you to my cafe bar called Entrevue. Let's see, there it is. So it's in the center of Paris and one of the most popular cafe bars in the city. I'll take a quick tour of what it's like on the inside. What? Hey, salut.
Salut.
Ça va?
Ouais, ça va. T'es en festin.
We'll take a quick tour downstairs. So the downstairs is a cave or basement from the 1300s. It's been restored. There you see. At one time it was a women's prison in the Middle Ages, and then served as a warehouse for fruits and vegetables. And up until recently, around World War II, it was a brothel. So hopefully you enjoyed this visit to Entrevue Cafe, and hopefully we see you here someday.